This command is said it is done. This is the duty of man. Yes, sir. Rise up and look into judgment. Yes, sir. Thou sayest
This is your brother Vision, a fellow servant and soldier in the faith. This show is inspired by the word of the Most High. Let us strive in love and in truth. This platform is to motivate and inspire one another to grow stronger in Christ. Welcome to the Dust and Nash podcast. I'm your host, Brother Machaza, aka Vision. I'm with
Freedom, aka Kawapash in the Hebrew name.
So this episode is going to be a different episode. The brother's here to give his testimony. Before we do that, can you go into a little bit about your upbringing?
All right, I'm from Elizabeth, New Jersey. I was born in Newark, raised in Elizabeth. A little bit about my upbringing. I'll say at a very young age, I was exposed to a lot. Not the average kid would be exposed to. I grew up with my grandparents because my mom, she passed away when I was only 1 year old. My father left me. Later on, I found out he was murdered and killed, so I didn't really have a connection with my father or my biological mother. I was mainly with my grandparents, and my uncles were like my brothers. I was raised in Elizabeth, wild times, dealing with, violence, drugs, just all types of sin, like just all types of wickedness and evilness that I grew up around. So, it was a lot.
Was there anyone in your upbringing, because I know you said it was you were in the midst of a lot of wickedness, was there anyone in the midst that was telling you about God?
I'll say the only individual in my entire family that was actually telling me about God at the time, because I really didn't have, I had like, as they say, the faith of a mustard seed. So I didn't really understand or comprehend the Bible or anything like that, but the person that mainly like told me to pray or prayed with me was my grandmother. My grandmother was like the most spiritual person out of our entire family. She was like the glue that stuck us all together. When it comes to like my grandfather or my uncles and stuff like that, they're just like, man, this is life. You got to deal with this. You got to go to work. You got to pay bills. That's it. What I mean? There wasn't any spirituality into it. The only person that actually, subconsciously, inadvertently, gave me these seeds and sold these seeds into me was my grandmother, giving these prayers when I had trouble sleeping at night, or prayers or something that I did something wrong or something when happened bad. She would pray with me at night and, saying that God is real, Jesus is real. And I was just like, all right, like that's just something that I retained in my mind and never kind of really thought anything of it at the time.
So how long have you been repentant?
It's been since, I say it's been 5 years now, 2018, 2019. To go in that story and further in that direction, like when I was in high school, I was kind of debating on what I wanted to do with my life. I joined the military at a young age because I felt like I had no structure, I had no father. The only father figures I had were my uncles, and they were kind of in and out of jail. And the most I learned from them was, what not to do with my life. So, I just went straight into the Marine Corps. I signed as soon as I turned 18 was my graduation date. All on the same day. I turned 18, and I signed to the Marine Corps, and I was like, all right, I'm ship me out. All I knew in my mind is I had to get away from this, because I know I wasn't going to go to college, because when I was in high school, I was kind of like freaking everywhere. I was with the wrong crowd. I was with the wrong people, with gang members, drug dealers, in the projects, hanging out. And, I know that I was on my way nowhere fast. Like I was going in the wrong direction, and it was going to be a dead end I was going to hit eventually. And I knew like I had to change something within me, some type of, moral compass that I had within me. Is like, all right, I'm doing the wrong thing. So, from there, I came back. I ended up being a reserve, so I didn't do active duty. So I ended up coming back while still in the military. So I was like, all right, I'm back. And when I came back, I kind of opened my eyes because I was gone for such a long amount of time when I was in the Marines. And it's only been like, what, half a year after graduation, whatever the case is. And, you know, I came back as a Marine. A lot of the people that I knew prior, they really didn't know what type of time I was on. And they knew that I was moving differently because I put myself in this system. And, you know, and when I came back, I just felt like I was alone. The only person I had at the time was my ex. And I'm just like, you know, like I want to do something more with my life. So I kept on trying to go further in to do something and trying to find the purpose. That was the main thing, trying to find the purpose, trying to find my purpose specifically. And, you know, I went from the Marines. I was still in the Marines, in the reserve. I was like, all right, let me jump into security. You know, I became a security officer for a little bit, for a few years. I ended up in Newark, in the UMDMJ. I was over there as security in the psychiatric ward. And I was dealing with these crazy people, crazy situations that I never thought a young 19-year-old, 20-year-old, you know, would be dealing with. I wasn't even 21 yet, and I was dealing with like some crazy situations. And as I spent my time there, somebody was like, "Hey, yo, you should go further. You know, like you're doing great as a security, but you know you can make more money and you can get more benefits, and you could probably find your purpose in law enforcement." So I was like, "All right, you know, I'm gonna just sign up for law enforcement." See where that takes me. I signed it up. I went through various different interviews. Went through psychiatric tests, psychological tests, physical tests. Went through all this, and then I end up getting granted by the agency to go to police academy. I finished police academy. I did my thing. Finished police academy, and I was ready to hit the road as a rookie. You know, as the person in the passenger, you know, observing what the vets, you know, do and say. So my first ever case, it was actually in Newark, because that's where I was. My agency was in Newark. I found a gun. You know, it was a gun, and I saw somebody getting resuscitated in the trauma center. And I'm just like, yo, this is crazy to be my first ever call. Like, I'm talking about, I put my badge on. I put my stuff on, and we walked to the car, and he's teaching me how to work the computer. And as he's teaching me how to work the computer, in the car, we get a call like GW. And so it's just like gunshot wound victim. So we go to the trauma center. This guy has his car just pulled up to the back of the trauma center. Car full of bullets, riddled with bullets on the one side to the left, going in and out. And the nurse saw him run and put something under a big barrel traffic cone type of thing. And that's when I kicked it over and on the cam, and it was like, oh, there's a gun. We found the gun. And then I had to go in there. I had to use my cam. That's when we had all body cams at the time. I had to go to the trauma center, and I just see him and, you know, getting resuscitated, like from the background, trying to get his information. I was trying to identify this guy as he's dying. So I'm just like, yo, this is a lot. You know, like I didn't expect it to be this much. So, you know that ends, and then it was a big pitfall that happened between the person I was with at the time, and you know I ended up finding, you know, it was she ended up cheating on me, whatever the case was, and from there, that's when my life started to spiral down out of control, essentially. And when it started to spiral out of control, I started drinking more. I started drinking more to the point where I would come to work intoxicated as a police officer. And I'm just like, I was so distorted. My mind was so distorted on the grief and the sorrow and the pain, because I felt as though it's like, all right, I lost this one person that was with me for this entire time. I don't have much family. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And, you know, eventually they took my gun away from me because I was a hazard to myself and others. They eventually was like, hey, how about you take a break, you know, like for like a month or two. So instead of like taking that break to recoup and, you know, get my mental right and, you know, utilize that time to take care of my mental health, what I decided to do is like, out of greed, I wasn't making enough money. So what I did was, yo, let me call my boy and let's cop some weed. You know, let's cop some weed and start, you know, let's start trapping this weed. Let's start this hustling this work. And I was, you know, I was like, yo, I hit him up. We're like, yo, let's get a pound. Let's get like or a couple ounces, whatever it was at the time. I don't remember. I called them, hit them up. We're like, yo, all right, we're gonna see this person. Let's do this. So I pick them up. We go to this location in the projects, and we're waiting there for about 10 to 20 minutes. He hits up the guy. He's like, yo, where you at? Yo, I'll be there in a few. Whatever. There's a hold up. There's traffic. Whatever. So we're sitting there. I'm sitting as the driver, and my boy, he leaves from the passenger seat because he gets a call from my boy to pick up the bud, whatever the case is. He goes, he grabs it, and as soon as he grabs it, he puts it in his bag, and he jumps in my car. I back up. As I'm leaving the premises of the projects, there's a Honda Civic tinted out, parked right in front of us. Before I knew it, there was police all over the place. DTs, detectives. Get the heck out of the car right now. Get out of the car right now. And I'm just like, yo, I'm flabbergasted at this point because I didn't expect that to happen in such a short amount of time. It was kind of like instant chastisement by the Most High. It was like, all right, I'm gonna try to do this to make more money out of greed. And it was kind of like automatically, like, as soon as we received it, not even less than 10 minutes later, like I'll say like less than 5, it was like, no, this is not how your life is gonna be. Like, we're gonna take this from you. We're gonna show you a lesson. So the lesson I learned was that I lost an entire career within seconds. Within seconds of being, I went through all of this to become a police officer. This 6 months of the police academy, was out on the road dealing with this stuff, just learning all this, and I lost it in seconds, like literally seconds. The cop came, he's like, all right, we're gonna have to book you. Meanwhile, I got an entire police hoodie on, getting booked with a police hoodie on academy when I graduated. All the agencies on my back. I'm walking there, there's Bloods and Crips in there, all over the place. They saying it, blah, blah, blah. I'm in a holding cell with one of the dudes that I got caught with me. That dude actually that was selling to us. And he had pounds on him. Right? So I'm just like, damn. Like, I'm sitting there thinking about my life. Like, yo, I was just on the other side of those bars. Now I'm inside. And I'm thinking about it. And from there, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So they ended up letting us go that day. And we had to go through multiple court sessions, and it lasted about 6 to 7 months. So the final court session comes, right? The final court session comes. My boy says I have nothing to do with it. Whatever the case is, I was just a driver. And then they just kind of just let me off the hook. They gave him a slap on the wrist because it was his first offense. And the other boy, the actual dealer had to do some time. And that day, that same day, I got released. I was souped up. I was happy. But within 24 hours, I was right back to doing wickedness. I'm talking about I'm drinking, I'm driving, I'm selling coke to individuals. I'm on top of the world. I feel I'm untouchable at this point. Because, I got away from that. Right? I got away from that, so I should be good. So at the time, I was trying to go into something different. I was trying to have a different realm of what I wanted to do. I wanted to do more of something with the art scene, and I'd never been in the art scene at the time. So I was just like, all right, let me go to this art show that was out in Patterson. Let me go out this art show and let me see what they're about. I've never been in that underground scene before. Let me check it out. So I hit up my boy that just came home. He just came home from jail, and he's like, yo, I'm down to come, whatever. I haven't been out yet. You know, no one really knows I'm home. All right, I'm down to go with you. So me and him, we go. First thing I do, when I get there, I gotta pull out a big bottle of Grey Goose. I start pouring shots, whatever, for everyone. because it was BYOB. I'm looking at everyone's art. I'm buying and purchasing art. I'm rolling up fat joints and stuff, and telling the people to hit it. And you know, I'm like, I feel great. Like I'm like, yo, I just got off of this case. I didn't need to deal with this, whatever. I'm over here and I'm finding this whole new world of art and the scene, and everything's looking up from here. Like, you know, like I'm telling people like, yo, I'm gonna be on the wall one day. I'm gonna start having my own shows. And then, you know, that night simmers down. We have to go home, me and my boy. We're like, all right, yo, we gotta go. We gotta head back. We gotta head back to Elizabeth. So I'm driving, I get in the car while intoxicated, while there's a Grey Goose bottle in the back seat. There's a whole bunch of art supplies. There's cans, there's acrylic paints. There's all this stuff in the back. And I got a quarter of weed on me, and it's tucked in this camouflage bag that I had that was actually for the Marines, because I was still in the Marines while I was doing all this, mind you. You know, I just got kicked out, or I just had to basically resign from my position as a police officer because I just got caught up in that situation. I got out of that situation, went straight back into doing wicked things. And so that night, you know, I'm driving, and I put the music on, the music's bumping. I'm like, yo, we're gonna have a good time. My boy's home, whatever. And then out of nowhere, as I'm driving, someone just walks in front of my vehicle. I don't know if I was intoxicated to the point where I didn't see the individual or the person just walked in the front. But all I know is that once that person walked in front of a vehicle, I heard it. I'm talking about when I ran probably 25, 30, 35 miles per hour with my car into this person. This person hit my windshield. Hit my windshield. Caved in my windshield. Flew up into the air and landed onto the street. As this is happening, the person I was with was like, what just happened? Like, what's going on? Like, what'd you just do?
Dang.
He's like, I look him dead straight in the face. I'm like, he's like, what you hit? I look him straight in the face. I'm like, I hit a person. He didn't know how to express himself at the time. He started laughing, like, nah, you're lying. Like, there's no way. Like, I just came home. I opened the vehicle, car vehicle. The freaking, the airbags are out. The windows caved in. I looked over to the left. There's a person laying in the street. All their bodies all, you know, contorted. And all I know is that whatever, like in my mind, it's like, all right, I got an open bottle of Grey Goose in the car. I got a quarter of weed, and I just hit a person. Meanwhile, the person I was with wasn't, you know, I told him, yo, take the butt out of the car, whatever. He didn't listen to anything I was saying. He was just so in shock of what was going on. And I end up, before I even I tell him to do that, before I even decide to go and handle that, I run to the person. And with my skills and what I utilize in the Marines and the police, what I learned in CPR, I went straight to the person, started resuscitating this person, doing mouth to mouth with this individual. And I'm pumping him in the chest. Like, in the middle of the street, there's cars behind us. There's 20 cars of just beeping and honking. There's lights, streets, people yelling. And I'm just like, wake up, wake up. Because I just knew that I messed up real bad. Like, I did it. And it was just like, yo, if this person's wake up, it's over for you, buddy. Like, it's done. All this fun and games, what you think you're untouchable, is done. At that time, I'm just like, yo, wake up, wake up. So she's not breathing. She's still unconscious. Her eyes are rolled back of her head. There's blood. And I'm just pumping her chest. Like, yo, please wake up, wake up, wake up. I'm screaming to this point. Wake up, please, wake up. You can't die, wake up. And he's watching from the sidelines. There's people in the background, like, what's going on? People coming out of his cars at this point. They're like, yo, leave that woman alone. You don't know that. And then he's yelling yo, he used to be a cop, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, whew. I give this one breath because I was giving her mouth to mouth like this. So I wasn't put my lips directly on her mouth. So I was like, and I blew this one big thing, and all I remember is hearing her. As soon as I heard that, it was a relief on my conscience that she's not dead yet. She's not dead yet. She still has some time. She still has this opportunity to be saved. And as soon as I finished that, I got up and I took all the stuff that was in the car and I ran off the scene. All the paraphernalia, all the prohibited, the drugs and stuff, I ran off the scene. I took all the stuff. I went down like a block. I threw the stuff away. I came back. And then that's when I got back, there was the police on the scene. I just remember hearing sirens and the ambulance, and I had the bag in my hand, and they looked in my my bag, and they didn't find. They just took my bag from me, and I was on the floor basically like just dry heaving because I saw this individual contorted still on the floor, and I started literally throwing up on the side. I couldn't believe I like what I just did. I'm just throwing up, and it's like dry heaving basically, just certain like spits coming out of my mouth, and they're asking like who's the driver of this car, and I'm like, it's me. And I tell them the situation. I'm like, yo, I hit this person, whatever. And they're like, all right, we're going to take you and put you back in the car. So I went in the back of this police vehicle. I was in handcuffs at the time. And I remember sitting there and them taping up the scene and taping up and marking actually with my spray paint from my bag, marking like the street of like all the pieces where all the debris was from the vehicle that came off, and they're asking and questioning the neighbors because everyone came outside their houses, and it was like a huge spectacle, and I'm in the back of the seat, and I was just like, I didn't know what to do at the time. I'm just like spacing out, and I'm just like, let me call these few people while I can, because I might not be able to go home tonight. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be home for a long time. So I called one of my cousins. That person didn't pick up the phone. I called one of my other friends. I told her where I'm at, and I told her like, hey, can you come pick up the stuff? She was like, all right, I'm on my way. Hung up, and the last person I called was my grandmother. And I called my grandmother. I told her what happened. Like, listen, Ma, like, I think I killed someone. I think I literally killed someone, and it was my fault, and I know like it was my fault because of what I did, and I went, and she just said, hold on, just calm down, and then we actually prayed when I was in the back of the police vehicle over the phone. I she's praying to me the Lord's Prayer, and as we finished the prayer up, she tells me like, everything's gonna be okay, and I hang up the phone with her, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm waiting for them to find all the evidence. I'm waiting for them to find the weed that I hid. I'm waiting for them to find the bottle that I dropped and I just ran away. And I'm sitting in the back of the car, and basically at this point I start talking to God. I start telling him like, yo, like if I know it was my fault, and I'm willing to take it on the chin because I know it was my fault, and when I did, if that person dies, I deserve everything that's coming from me. But if that person's alive, and I don't care, and basically I said, I don't care, like it's your will, like I don't care if I have to go down to prison or what's gonna happen. Keep this person alive. Keep this person alive. Can you just make sure this person's alive? I don't want him to die because of my mistakes. So, I was praying to myself at the time in the back of the police vehicle. Then all of a sudden they pop open the door, and I look, and they have the bag, the camo bag that was full of the paint, the narcotics, and the alcohol. They have it. They're like, is this your bag? I'm like, yeah. He pulled out the spray can, like, oh, you got a whole bunch of spray can, like art, like, and I told them I'm an artist. I have all my canvases and stuff there. They're like, all right. And you know, in my mind, I'm thinking like they found all the evidence already, and you know, they're like, all right, we're gonna have to take you for some questioning. You're gonna go to the detective's office where to question you. So, you know, they drive me there. My car gets towed. My friend ends up coming and picking up my art supplies and taking it in her vehicle. So I'm just sitting there like, you know, at this point, just like, yo, it is what it is. What happens, happens, you know, because I know what I did was wrong. Because at the time, I had no understanding of the Most High or of the Bible. I just knew that, like, in my mind, I felt there was like moral like, you have to have a moral compass. There's like moral laws, and there's like a universal law of things. Like if you're a shitty person, you know, receive that back. I was thinking more of a karma sense.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, I know I messed up completely, and whatever I, you know, did, I deserved because of what I did. So I ended up going to the DT's office. They're questioning me about everything. They never asked me if I was drunk or intoxicated at all. They never breathalyzed me. They just tell me the situation. I told it to them, and you know, they're like, all right, you're free to go. And I was like, all right. I called the Uber, and the Uber felt like it was the Uber was only 10 minutes away, but it felt like it was an hour when I was sitting there. So I jumped in the Uber. I went home, and I just remember when I got home, one of my friends hit me up. He was like, hey, what you doing? I'm like, yeah, I just got into a bad car accident, whatever. And I think I killed someone. And he jumps in the car. And then, you know, we're driving. They're trying to smoke weed and stuff. And I'm just like, yo, like, bro, like, I just went through all this shit. Like, why am I, like, putting myself back in this predicament with these individuals? Like, I'm like, yo, take me home now. Like, take me home. So I get home. And I wake up the next day. And I go see my friend that took all my stuff, and she had the camel bag. So I get there, it's like snowing outside, I remember. I get there, I'm like, you have my camel bag? She's like, yeah, here it is. And she gave it to me. And I opened it up, and I thought I got rid of the weed, but the weed was still in the bag.
Hey,
So I'm just like, what? Like, why didn't they, like, I just didn't understand or comprehend it. You know, like what happened for them to do that? So I'm like, all right. I sit there, I'm like thinking to myself, and I'm just like, yo, I'm still worried about the situation because I don't know what happened to the woman at the time. Like, they didn't tell me. They said they were going to get back to me, whatever the case is. They took my ID, my driver's license, and they said they'll contact me over the phone whenever that's the case. So, you know, I go to sleep. I wake up. I go to the place to get my car because it was towed. They said that it's under investigation. They don't know any results about anything, what's going on. And then I'm just like, yo, and then at this point, like now, like I'm being tormented. I'm being tormented by my thoughts. I'm being tormented, and I'm condemning myself. And it started to really get to me really bad, to the point where I remember one night I fell asleep, and I felt sleep paralysis. And I couldn't move my body, but my eyes were like kind of open a little bit like this. And I was looking towards my door, and the door started to open slowly, and there was nobody on that side of the door. Like there was nobody was up. It was just me and my grandmother in the house. And the door started to open. There was this black shadowy figure. And I remember seeing this black shadow figure as I'm really in sleep paralysis, like looking at this person, like with my eyes like kind of barely open, trying to move. And as soon as I saw this black shadow figure, it was like this fear that I just fear. And I'm just like, yo, like I'm gonna close my eyes. Maybe I'll close my eyes. This shit, it just go away. This would just go away. And I closed my eyes, and I remember closing my eyes. Immediately after I closed my eyes, all I hear is this demonic. That's all the only way I could describe it. It's a demonic roar in my ear. Like this rare. And then I woke up. and like I was able to move my body, and I started like tears coming out of my eyes. I'm just like, yo, what was that? I never experienced something like that in my entire life. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm just like, I didn't know. I turned the light on. I'm sitting there. I'm trying to read. I'm trying to like calm myself. My grandmother wakes back up, and then she's like, I tell her what happens. She's like, all right, let's pray. So then me and her pray. She's like, I pray for him, whatever's trying to attack him to go away, and in Jesus Christ's name, just go away. And I go back to sleep. But for the next 3 to 4 days, I had reoccurring memories of me running into this individual over and over again, and it kept on happening to me in my dreams. Like I kept on hitting this individual and hearing the impact in her face, like in all those dreams. So I was being tormented to the point. And then one day, after like the 3rd or 4th day, I wake up and I hear this voice, and it sounded like my voice. There's a voice in the back of my head, and it says, it's like, hey, go see Vision. Go see Vision. And I'm just like, I'm thinking like, why did I see Vision? Like, I mean, like, and at the time I didn't know how deep he was into the actual faith and the truth. Like I didn't understand at that time, but it was something telling me like, yo, go see Vision. Like, go see him for whatever reason. And any time prior to that, it was just kind of me and him was kind of like, we saw each other, whatever, due to like mutual friends, mutual brothers. And it was always off of business aspects and stuff like that, get my hats done and like, different designs. But it wasn't on anything on that level. So I was just like, yo, like, all right, I'm gonna give him a call. So,
Yo, that probably was kind of like confusing, like, yo, what?
Yeah.
Vision?
Yeah.
Why? Like, I just had this.
Yeah, exactly. And I was unaware completely, like, that you're in the truth, or like, like in the scriptures. Like, I didn't fully comprehend, because like I said, like everything that all the business that we had before was just like strictly business regarding like art and stuff. And so like I didn't really understand why I was receiving that message or where it can't come from. And I remember going to you on your house, I calling you and telling you like what happened, like a little briefly what happened, like, yo, like I just gotta see you, like, and like it's telling me to talk to you essentially. And I get there, and I remember I told you, I broke everything down, a brief summary, and you were like, yo, we gotta get our sword. I'm like, we gotta get our Bibles, brother. And I'm like, let's go right now, and I remember like leaving out. The brother Malak came. He came out of nowhere, out of the mist, and we all walked there. And I remember, just telling me like, this is, when you open the truth, like, like this is the truth that you're gonna give, and you can't forsake it. Basically, essentially, like, like you're walking this path, you gotta be, with integrity, sincerity, truth. Like, cause there's, you could, if you open this and you're not sincere about it, you could come back more messed up than you once came when you first came, right now. So, yeah. Then that's like, I remember, leading up to all that, but this got to that point, and a couple years later, just here I am.
So, all that happened. When Spirit tell you, yo, go see Vision. You arrive, you get your sword, your Bible. But now it's like you're new, you're a babe. So what was like the beginning process of you receiving the word, and how did that process go from the like being like in the beginning rather?
Oh, so in the beginning it was there was a lot of I'll say, like, even when, like, trying to read it and understand it and comprehend it, it was a little difficult for me at the time. Because when I would read, I would get some weird, crazy thoughts, like some weird, like, come out of my mind, some stuff that I even would be thinking about on the regular, just would come, like some wicked, like crazy thoughts. I was like, yo, why am I thinking about this right now? And then I had like a lot of outside like temptation, from individuals and friends and people. Like it was like kind of stronger than ever, and it was kind of like a veil was being lifted over my eyes and seeing everything for what it is. And because I have that lens of being cardinal in perspective my entire life, and then opening up the Bible and actually reading it and having a relationship with the Most High, and and like actually understanding it, because I always looked at it on a perspective like, oh, the Bible's man-made, these churches do this and that. I never looked at it actually having my own personal relationship with the Most High and actually reading the Bible for myself. So when I was able to read the Bible for myself and get together with a congregation, with brothers, with sisters that actually read the Bible for themselves, and we break it down, we're able to help each other and assist each other, iron sharpens iron. I started to feel like the most difficult part about it was to leave my old self behind. Like stop, and that includes like friends, family, stuff like that, because they knew me for who I once was at the time. So they looked at me like that. And when I just said, hey, yo, I'm not into this anymore, or I don't eat certain foods anymore, whatever the case is, they looked at me like I was crazy. Even after hearing all the testimony, what I just been through and all the stuff, and like now I read the Bible, they're like, why?
Sure.
Like why do you do that? Like, I remember the dude that was actually with me at the time. He was just like, I probably hit up. I think he called me like a month or two later after I was like went through all this and started reading the scriptures, and I was like, bro, like you gotta repent. I'm telling him like you gotta, like I'm like fresh out, a babe out of the truth. I'm telling this guy how to repent and stuff, and he's just like, why? Like like he's like, why did you just all of a sudden like like all of a sudden you just turn to the Bible and stuff like that. There's people out here sick, but I don't see God doing nothing about it. And like he's asking me all these advanced questions that I didn't have the answer for at the time, and I felt like so like kind of flustered, and I didn't know how to answer him, but I know what I felt was right because all the stuff that I witnessed and all the stuff that I saw, and he even said it to me. He's like, yo, like, if you could show me the truth, like actually understand it, like I wouldn't want to be a part of it, because I want to know what you're thinking, like seeing, like, and it's like I don't got that for you right now, like, but I know like when eventually there's a time and place where I'll be able to give it to you, hopefully before it's too late, like, and that was the most difficult part, letting go of my old habits, the individuals that led me back to my old habits, being able to stand firm on what I believe in my faith, because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right? So like that was like the beginning of my walk, and it was just very like there was hurdles, and at times I felt I wasn't worthy and I was condemning myself, and it was just a back and forth type of thing, and just be able to like kind of like remain hot, and then mean like being hot, like hot in the spirit, in the Holy Spirit, and not lukewarm. And so I just was like, oh man, like like I just gotta continue to study and continue to pray, and and separate myself. Being holy is to be set apart, so you gotta separate yourself from certain individuals, certain practices, certain traditions, certain things. So it's like when you're able to separate yourself and be set apart, you will have a more clarity of mind, because you don't have these thoughts or these how do you say, like how like the TV has like suggestive programming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like there's no room for the adversary to spread seed.
Yeah, those the temptations,
Yeah.
ultimately trying to tempt you to do the things that from their programming ultimately.
Yeah.
So going through everything you went through, what would be some advice, or what would be like some wisdom that you would share with someone that probably is in the service, or that's a cop or a security guard, or is in the midst of the drug game, selling drugs or whatever, or potentially even dealing with the torment that you was going through while you was thinking about hitting that person, and because some people unfortunately they didn't receive that outcome from hitting someone. Some people actually are doing time for those actions and things like that. What wisdom would you or would want to tell that person? You know what I'm saying?
the wisdom I would like to tell that person, if you ever caught up in a situation like that, is just pray to the Most High. You know, you got to pray and walk through it fiercely, and like I guess like even when I was in the world and I was carnal thinking, like understanding that like what you what you put in is what you get out, right? What you what you sow is what you reap, right?
That's
so,
right. You reap what you sow.
Yeah,
Right.
so you reap what you sow, right? So like me doing that and putting that energy out there, I'm gonna get it back tenfold. You know, it's gonna come back eventually one way or another. It might not come back the same way. It might come back through a different person, through a different situation, another point in time in your life. But just abstaining away from the wickedness and the sinfulness, and being ultimately be blameless. You know, like not putting yourself in certain scenarios or with certain people to get you caught up. You know, and this walk isn't an easy walk. You know, it's gonna be it's gonna be it's gonna be difficult at times. You're gonna be going through what was it that said, I think it was Erica Badu's, it's like there's mountains and valleys, and that's how life is. You know, you go up, you go down, you go up, but like as long as you have faith in the Most High throughout it all, and being grateful for just to be alive, be going through it, but you're still alive and you have faith. He's gonna be your protection. He's gonna be your covering over that all, because at the end of the day, many are called but few are chosen. So knowing that, it's just like you got to take it seriously, because this is life we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta take it seriously. Like a lot of times, it's people look at the Bible and they're like, like, why are you taking it so literal? You know what I mean? Like, man, like if you don't, you see why. You see how messed up situations you could get in.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, so my advice to you is just, stay prayed up, stay vigilant, put your head on a swivel, pray to your power, the Most High, and really study to show thyself approved. Like, don't allow the church to tell you this or this person to tell you that or this. Like, read it for yourself. Read it for yourself. Once you read it for yourself, you get a better understanding, because there's no like misconstrued like information in there or this and that or slipping a little, because that's what the world is right now, like what they do, like the churches, and it's just all this misconstrued information, and then there's traditions that are involved in this and it's nothing that's even from the Bible. But like, the Bible hasn't failed me. That's all I gotta say. The Bible hasn't failed me. It's been 5-6 years now, and my life has dramatically changed from me being that alcoholic, drug dealing, pot smoking, crazy, oath taking cop, like to a family man, or a righteous man, a husband, a father. Changed my whole perspective of life, and I'm just blessed to be able to be here, and be able to speak my testimony and live to sell it.
Amen, amen. All praise due to the Most High.
All praise to the Most High.
Hey, I want to commend you, brother. I appreciate you sharing your testimony. It's not really, it's not easy, really, because I'm not gonna lie. Even looking back at some of the stuff that we used to do, you look at the fruit that those things that we had we're ashamed of now. Mm-hmm. We look at those things like, we don't really want to relive those things, but however, we came from that. So, because sometimes I do know, some people see that we're talking about Christ or God a lot, they feel as if we can't relate to what they're going through, but we all have a different testimony. We all been through things. So I know expressing that and saying that, especially probably from the camera, it takes courage, man. So I want to commend you on that.
All praise is due to the Most High, perpetually.
With that, Shalom.
Shalom.
Fear God and keep his commandments.